Hey y'all, it's K-Bird Tweets, and this is Peace, Love, and Baseball. Hello and welcome into another episode of Peace, Love, and Baseball. I'm your host, Kelsey, aka K-Bird Tweets, and it is great to have you with me for another episode to dive into different aspects of the game that we love and so much more. Make sure that you're following me on Twitter. Let's just get right down to business here at K-Bird Tweets. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it down in the corner here, but that is KBURD Tweets. You can like peace.love.baseball on Instagram and our Peace, Love, and Baseball Facebook page if that is where you would like to follow along on the social media. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and you will never miss an episode. Your comments are always so welcome. Join in the conversation. I would love to hear from you on social media as well. And keep spreading the good word of peace, love, and baseball. So this past weekend, Major League Baseball celebrated Roberto Clemente Day, and we have talked about Roberto Clemente and his amazing legacy on our Pittsburgh Pirates episode, which I'll link in the show notes if you haven't caught that one yet. But each team has a Roberto Clemente Award nominee. This award is presented each year to the Major League Baseball player who, quote, best represents the game of baseball through extraordinary character, community involvement, philanthropy, and positive contributions, both on and off the field. So while I wanted to highlight some of these nominees and their contributions this year, one of my favorite things about baseball is that there is always a reason to tune in to a game. Like, I don't care if it's the two teams with the worst records in the middle of September that are matching up. There are multiple reasons that you can be invested in that game. There's so many aspects that matter, from the makeup of the organization and to what's going on with individual players on the field. So even though we're in the final 2 weeks of the season and half of the teams are all but fully cooked, there is still a reason to tune in to your team and so many others, even if they are not in the playoff conversation. So let's talk about that, shall we? For the bottom 8 teams in the league this year, we are going to point out a silver lining to tune into for the last couple of weeks in the season, and just a reason to stay hyped, to stay invested, whether you're a fan or you're just a big baseball fan and you're looking for a game to flip to and you're not really sure why you should care about it as much as maybe you did in April, right? And then we're also going to highlight their Roberto Clemente nominee and their efforts this season. So these are the bottom 8 teams in baseball. The first 3 are ones you've probably heard about all season long that have been out of the playoff conversation for quite a while. But that is kind of a reason in itself to maybe tune in to this first team that we're going to talk about. And that is none other than the Chicago White Sox. Now, with 115 losses that is coming into today that I'm recording on Monday, September 16th of 2024, the White Sox could end up having the most losses in the modern era of baseball if they surpass the 1962 Mets, who had 120. So if they get 5 more losses, which they are certainly on pace for, that would, I guess 6 more would break the record for a 121 loss season. So wait to see for that. That, I guess, is reason enough. I mean, I know White Sox fans. I follow a lot of White Sox fans. We did a White Sox episode with our fan Drew, and I know he and the other White Sox fans have kept the timeline active and kept in good spirits and kind of rallied around this pain and suffering that they're having this season. And it is to be admired, because for the fans, like, there is, it's nothing against them, and it sucks for them in a way that is hard for a lot of other fans to imagine if you don't remember being around for the 1962 Mets. If there are any 1962 Mets fans out there, give a shout. I want to hear from you. Let's do a clip and rally in solidarity with the White Sox fans here. But Another White Sox player that we want to highlight here specifically is Andrew Vaughn, who is the 2024 Roberto Clemente nominee. Andrew and his wife Lexi launched the Going Vaughn charity at the start of the 2024 season. Love it. Following a spring training collaboration with Put on the Cape to fill the toy closets, food pantries, and wardrobes of children and families affected by abuse in Chicago. Andrew shopped for items personally, and he delivered these gifts and essentials to individuals served by the Glendale Advocacy Center. They then hosted children and their families at La Ribada Children's Hospital for a special opening day party. Again, just going to highlight like some of the things that were in their Roberto Clemente nominee bio, but there is much more to read about, and I encourage you to look deeper into all of these causes because there's so many, and especially if you're someone who is a fan of this team and you're looking for a way to be active in your community, these players on your favorite team are highlighting a lot of these causes. The Vaughns hosted more than a dozen foster moms from Brightpoint, which is a Chicago-based nonprofit offering comprehensive behavioral health services to parents and youth. They hosted them in a ballpark suite for a Mother's Day celebration, and the women participated in a build your own bouquet activity before enjoying the game. Later that month, I was so excited to read about this because Andrew partnered with an organization, a nonprofit in Chicago called Digs with Dignity. I got to give a huge shout out to my friend Kim, who is actually the founder and executive director. She's a former coworker of mine. She's the founder and executive director of Digs with Dignity, and she partnered with Andrew Vaughn to provide a home makeover for a family from Chicago's South Side who has been displaced by a flood in this case. And Andrew selected furniture, linens, household items, artwork, and toys to furnish the new living space for a single mother and her 3-year-old son. While the family was away for the day, Andrew and the volunteer group transformed their home. They filled it with all the essentials, personalized decor, made it really feel like their own space for them. And upon returning, they were greeted with a beautifully upgraded home, stocked with all their favorite foods and stuff like that, and some fun surprises arranged by the Vaughns. If you are in Chicago and you're looking for a way to be involved in the community, I could not point you into a better direction than Digs with Dignity. Very cool that Andrew Vaughn found them as a partner for his efforts as well. And then in August, Andrew hosted a Nike home run derby for young athletes from the Chicago White Sox Amateur City Elite and Team Teflon programs, which aim to inspire the next generation of Black baseball and softball talent. His participation offered coaching tips, big league insights, and an opportunity for these kids to showcase their skills and hitting power at a major league baseball park. Very cool. So, hey, tune into the White Sox, see if they're going to break the record and keep losing, and maybe hear about some of what's on tap, because there's definitely been things coming out about how they're going to cut payroll over 2025. I don't know, but I'd be interested to see how the organization is going to spin that and what their plans are to kind of rebuild from the inside, it sounds like, more or less. And Andrew Vaughn is a great guy to root for any day over there. Let's move on to the Miami Marlins. You know, my guy Skip Schumacher is managing over there. So that is going to be my kind of silver lining for you here for the Miami Marlins. Skip Schumacher, the 2023 National League Manager of the Year. He is a badass manager, and he is very likely to be with another team next year. That's kind of been known since the beginning of this season. So get a pulse on him. He has done a great job, even knowing that like he has to be more or less one foot out the door, not by his choice, but an organizational choice, seemingly. But he's done a great job of still being a very commendable leader of that young and pieced together team. And he gives great interviews, really thoughtful post games, and he might be with a much more highly competitive team next year. So get in on it now. Jesus Luzardo is the Roberto Clemente nominee for the Miami Marlins. Jesus does all kinds of great things. Just to name a few, he hosts free baseball camps at the high school that he graduated from in Florida. So that's cool that he's kind of a hometown guy with the team that he is currently with. And along with his involvement there, Jesus has participated in 5 baseball fantasy camps for kids hosted by the Marlins Foundation over the last 3 seasons. This year, he participated in one at the team's spring training site and another at Lone Depot Park. These camps provide kids with physical and intellectual challenges the opportunity to improve their skills by participating in a clinic where MLB players guide them through different stations. Jesus teamed up with the Marlins Foundation to host a free baseball clinic for individuals from the WOW Center. The WOW Center is an adult day training center that supports and serves individuals with developmental disabilities from Miami-Dade County. He led attendees through stations that highlighted the sport's fundamentals. That's very cool. I would love to be a part of something like that. And great that they had the opportunity to have an experience like that. Last month, he joined the Marlins Foundation on a visit to Camilla's house, whose mission is to feed and provide housing to the homeless in Miami-Dade County. As part of the trip, Jesus served lunch and donated $5,000 on behalf of the Marlins Foundation. He also visits the Camilla's house in his own time with his family, and he has joined Marlins manager Skip Schumacher, also a great dude, on visits to the Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Earlier this year, Jesus launched the Luzardo Family Foundation to support local initiatives that are important to him personally. This nonprofit organization seeks to empower and uplift children from underserved communities to help them reach their full potential. I'm excited to see where this goes for Jesus Luzardo because he's a young player. He's really just getting out there. And so how cool to see that he's already being highlighted on such a scale as this to get that nomination for the Roberto Clemente Award. The Colorado Rockies are up next. Okay. The Colorado Rockies are so interesting to me, right? Because they, unlike the Miami Marlins and the Chicago White Sox, they don't seem to necessarily have an attendance problem because their ballpark is beautiful. It seems like they have a great in-game experience that doesn't suffer as much as you think it would for the, lack of product that's being put out on the field. But one thing that is not lacking for the Colorado Rockies is their center fielder, Brenton Doyle. He won the Gold Glove for center field last year for the National League, and he is one of, if not the best center fielder in baseball again this season. Definitely, I think, going to be nominated at least for the NL center field Gold Glove. And he's been finding a stride at the plate lately as well. He had a walk-off home run, I think, for the Rockies the other night. Very fun player to watch. Pitcher Kyle Freeland is the Rockies' Roberto Clemente nominee. Freeland has been very active with the Special Olympics since he was in the minor leagues. This is what is so cool about learning about these Roberto Clemente nominees is, yeah, there's a lot of the same ways that you'll hear that they're active in their community, obviously working to, give opportunities to underserved children in the communities is something that's very common, but Kyle was involved with the Special Olympics long before he was on a Major League Baseball field, which is really cool. So the Colorado Rockies Foundation has teamed up with the Special Olympics in Colorado to host the annual fantasy camp for kids for many years, and Kyle's efforts have been a big part of that. This event is specifically for athletes with intellectual disabilities. Kyle volunteers regularly throughout the baseball season in the Rockies-sponsored youth baseball clinics, and the Fantasy Camp for Kids event is always on his calendar. In addition to participating in Rockies team-sponsored events, he and his wife, Ashley, have been independently dedicated supporters of the Special Olympics for many years. He actually started his involvement with this when he was playing in the minor leagues. So kind of like Jesus Luzardo, guy hasn't gotten his bag yet, but they're already finding ways to give back. And that just says a lot about their character and what is important to them in, the legacy that they want to leave both on and off the field. The Los Angeles Angels, they have been officially eliminated from playoff contention as well as of this past week. So why are we tuning in to the Angels these days? Well, let me tell you. If you've been here, for the long haul, you probably have already heard me talk about Ron Washington and how I'm a fan of Ron Washington and the fit for the young team that he's got there. So Ron Washington is a badass. That's my reason to tune into the Angels right now, even in spite of owner Artie Moreno's helicopter ownership. Cannot change the fact that Ron Washington has got it going on. I also want to tell you about a rookie for the Angels, and there's a lot of them, but I think this was their most recent call-up. His name is Eric Wagaman. He's a corner infielder, and he got to make his big league debut this past week. He grew up as an Angels fan and he has had a long road, little unconventional, to the majors. He was originally drafted by the Yankees in 2017. The Angels picked him up via the Rule 5 draft, and he grew up with players like David Eckstein as his favorite player. He loves the scrappy players. I do too, Eric. And, this is a lot of Cardinals fans tuned in. We'd love to hear a David Eckstein shout out. So we're already on your side. He got his first big league hit this weekend after going 0 for 9 to kick things off at the plate. Got his first big league hit, and it was none other than an RBI double off of Justin Verlander. Like, come on. He said he was going to ask Justin Verlander to sign the ball, which I think is amazing. I really hope he got JV to do that for him. And the hit happened in front of about 25 of his family and friends, including his parents. Love to hear that. We always love when those moments can be, so copacetic and so special like that, especially when it's been a long road. And that, again, I mean, this kind of just points out reason enough to tune in to some of these games is you're going to see moments from players that you honestly might not see play in the major leagues again. Now, I certainly hope that's not true. You might see breakouts for players that weren't supposed to ever play in the major leagues again, which is even cooler. So you just never know. That is one of the things that I think is really special about baseball when you directly compare it with other sports is that it's like the success within baseball for players is not necessarily as linear as it is in other sports. I think that's so interesting. It's reason enough to stay invested and just stay curious and see what there is to watch in every single game from every single player who gets an opportunity to be out there. Now, Mike Trout is the Roberto Clemente nominee for the Angels. So even though it's been a huge bummer to not see him on the field again this season, he has kept himself busy. And I just want to say that's another thing. You know what? If there are players who are not necessarily earning their paycheck, I'm saying with big quote fingers if you're not watching on YouTube, because, a lot of fans like to complain about stuff like that. I would rather Artie Moreno's money be going to a guy like Mike Trout, who is putting it to fantastic use in many ways and putting it back into the community. So yeah, I'd rather trust Mike Trout with it than Artie Moreno at this point. If you feel differently, Angels fans, let me know. But I think Angels fans are going to be really on board with that sentiment. So he is an ambassador for MLB Together. So he's involved with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and he is very passionate about visiting kids in local hospitals. This dude's charitable efforts are too long to even start to list the number of organizations he is associated with. And it's really cool to read about them because I think what you'll notice if you go and check out, I'm going to include the link of the list where you can vote. I think you can vote. I think we can vote, right? I should really find that out. We can vote for the Roberto Clemente Award winner, but you can read all of their bios and get more information about their charitable efforts and these organizations that they're involved with. And Mike Trout's is very in depth. So I did not want to do any of them a disservice by, trying to even put it into a sentence. But he is very much on the ground and showing up. And for a guy like Mike Trout, who could easily sit back and, just donate some money here, donate some money there, it's really cool to see that he's showing up, he's doing the work, and then of course making individual contributions as well as dedicating his time. But yeah, obviously contributing to major foundations that have a wide reach is a super way to be effective when you've got that kind of money. So good on ya, Mike Trout. Let's talk about these Oakland A's. Maybe the last time that we're going to talk about the Oakland A's as the Oakland A's. Which makes me sad because if you listen to an episode that I did in the off season, I was like fully in the simulation where Shohei Ohtani was going to re-sign with the Angels and the A's were staying in Oakland. While I still have massive doubts about whatever John Fisher thinks is happening with the A's in Las Vegas, Shohei Ohtani, spoiler alert, did not sign with the Angels, and maybe I'll be wrong about this too, because it does seem like the A's are gonna leave Oakland. But on Thursday afternoon, September 26th, the Oakland A's take on the Texas Rangers in a day game. And when the final out is recorded, it will be the last A's home game at the Oakland Coliseum after 56 years. So I want to tell you to follow organizations like the Last Dive Bar and the Oakland 68s, who are the heart and soul, honestly, of this organization. And no doubt it will be interesting to see how they celebrate the end of an era. And I hope they are able to make it really special for themselves and the great fans there in Oakland. There are also some really wonderful folks in the media in Oakland, like Jessica Kleinschmidt on the radio. You may have seen an interview that Susie and I did over at Bourbon and Baseball with Jessica. She's an absolute delight, and she does wonderful work over there, and really gets the best out of the players and the content that is to be made there. And then, of course, Dallas Braden, former pitcher, is an analyst on TV. So tune in and support them and consume some quality baseball content from Oakland while you still can. The Roberto Clemente nominee for the Oakland A's is another young guy, Mason Miller, who you've probably heard about from his sick stuff as a closer. He was actually diagnosed with type 1 diabetes before his junior year of college after discovering high blood sugar levels from an employer-mandated drug screening. Crazy. But after learning to manage his condition, he was able to gain weight, maintain his energy levels when pitching, which in turn led to the increase in velocity that we love to see today. And in 2021, he was actually able to transfer to a Division I school and then ended up being drafted by the A's in the third round of the 2021 Major League Baseball draft. So this season, Mason has made a commitment to direct outreach to children living with type 1 diabetes. In Oakland and on the road, Mason takes time to meet with kids on the field before games. He talks to them about everything from insulin pumps to, best snacks that are going to help control your blood sugar, just being active and wanting kids to be active, even despite these challenges that they might have. And as people around the world have heard Mason's story, families have reached out to him for advice, encouragement from young athletes who are facing similar challenges. Mason has also taken the time to visit the School of Imagination, which is a Bay Area organization that is the leading inclusive early childhood education and multidisciplinary intervention program for neurodiverse learners whose commitment is to bring out the extraordinary in every child. I love to hear about this. Kim Bird, if you're listening, my mom is very committed to this sort of work and has dedicated her life to it. And I'd love to ask Mason how, his, personal experience with this cause, but it seems like he got involved because former A's player and current Guardians manager, Stephen Vogt, built a relationship with the School of Imagination years ago, and Mason and his teammates, Zach Geloff, Joey Estes, and Mitch Spence and Brett Harris now are carrying the torch and have visited the School of Imagination for playing and interacting with its students. So that's very cool. And yeah, man, I have so many questions for Stephen Vogt, but one of them that's at the top of my list is about this relationship that he built with the School of Imagination and what that looks like. Very cool cause, and I'm glad to hear the A's players are staying involved. Let's move now to the Washington Nationals, who didn't have the best season. That's why they're on this list, but they didn't have the worst season either. And they've got some exciting guys that you could be watching right now that they have called up in the last couple months of the season. So Dylan Cruz and James Wood are two young and very exciting players. If you haven't heard of them, if you haven't watched some Nationals games, I want you to get on it because they are sure to be a huge part of the future for the Nationals, along with CJ Abrams, who we love. You can just really expect them to be a part of that Washington Nationals core. And you heard it here first. Maybe not. I'm sure someone has already said this, but the Nationals are getting close, y'all. They are getting close to being back in the conversation, I think sooner rather than later, especially with players like this. So check them out now and get in on the hype. Pitcher Josiah Gray of the Nationals is the Roberto Clemente nominee, and for a very good reason. He and his family never hesitate to step up to the plate and contribute to the team's charitable initiatives like the Strikeout Breast Cancer campaign. Earlier this year, Josiah was actually selected by Sarah Langs as the national representative for MLB's Lou Gehrig Day auction due to his leadership within the game of baseball. I do remember that earlier on in the season, and that was very cool to see. And most significantly, Josiah has cemented his place in the fabric of the team's community impact by accepting a title beyond pitcher. This is so awesome. In 2022, he was named player ambassador to the Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy, which is an awesome program. I'm sure all teams have something like this, but for some reason, I've heard more about the Nationals. Maybe it's because they're in our country's capital. I don't know, but that's certainly not a title that, they gave him lightly. And so many reasons, just a few there, that make Josiah Gray very deserving of that Roberto Clemente nomination. Let's get on to the Pittsburgh Pirates, y'all, because I was one of a handful of people, I think, that thought the Pittsburgh Pirates could be for real and could maybe make some noise here in the second half of the season that would have kept them in the conversation a bit longer. But okay, not that you need more of a reason to tune into the Pirates when they've got Paul Skeens, right? He's quite possibly the NL Rookie of the Year. Days when he's on the mound, we're zoned in. I'm actually, as I'm recording this, the Cardinals are playing against the Pirates. Paul Skeens is pitching, and there's like more interaction going on Cardinals Twitter than I've seen in weeks, probably at least the past 10 days or so. And I have Paul Skeens to thank for that. So players like this are important for the game. And it also makes me believe that there are a lot of baseball fans who are player first fans, or maybe like player also fans. I don't know. I consider myself like a player first fan because even though I'm obviously a huge St. Louis Cardinals fan, I get really invested in watching certain players, and that in itself is like enough for me to stick with watching a game, or a reason for me to tune into any game. And I don't know, a player that I absolutely love could get traded to a team that I absolutely despise, like even like the Chicago Cubs. And like Shota Imanaga, like I still have to root for that guy. I could never root against him. I love to see him do well. I appreciate his skill and his personality and everything that he is, and it has nothing to do with, the team that he's on, because if it did, it would just ruin it for me. But I think Paul Skeens and moments like this in baseball show that there are a lot of fans that want to be fans of players as much as they are a fan of the game. And I hope the way that we can continue to cover the game will allow for more of that. But we've got to highlight these players, and again, their personalities on and off the field, and just like get some hype around them, So we've done that with Paul Skeens. We could do it better with a lot of other players, but you know about him. And the Pirates have promoted utility man Nick York to the big leagues. The Red Sox selected York in the first round, 17th overall of the 2020 MLB draft. He was named the organization's minor league player of the year in 2021. And he is promoted as of today. He was traded to the Pirates then in exchange for 24-year-old right-hander Quinn Priester ahead of the 2024 MLB trade deadline. He is now the number 6 ranked prospect in Pittsburgh's system per MLB Pipeline, and he's playing his first big league game today on Monday, September 16th, as I record this. So another young, exciting guy. The Pirates also just have like a lot of players that I like. Rowdy Tellez, always a good guy to root for. Andrew McCutchen, oh my gosh, a literal legend. So, there's a lot of young talent. Brian Reynolds, Ke'Bryan Hayes, even Jack Sawinski. I'll give it to him. I'm never going to call him knockoff Harrison Bader again, because now I know him. Game recognizes game, Jack Sawinski. But yeah, the Pirates are a fun team to watch. And they're another one like the Nationals that I think, maybe haven't been making the most noise lately, but that's not going to last for long. For the Roberto Clemente award nominee, I feel like it's like extra special. It's a little extra something in Pittsburgh because, that's where Roberto Clemente is from, and the organization that he is from. And David Bednar is your 2024 Roberto Clemente nominee for the Pittsburgh Pirates. For the third season in a row, he has had a major presence at various community events for the Pirates and the Pirates charities. As players settled into the offseason and returned to their hometowns all over the place, David continued to dedicate his time off to giving back to the community during the cold winter months. Together with hospital partner Allegheny Health Network, the Pirates announced and launched the Chillmobile in October of 2022. Chillmobile is a retrofitted RV which offers students across the Pittsburgh region a calming space where they can learn evidence-based coping skills and participate in practical and interactive experiences with the goal of not only improving individual mental health, but of extending the conversation into the larger community and reducing the stigma surrounding mental health and wellness. What a cool idea. I wonder whose idea that was and if David had anything to do with the actual concept. He has been a staple of the program since its inception, according to MLB.com. And he took the time during the offseason to attend various Chillmobile assemblies at schools across the Pittsburgh region. This is something that you see baseball players really being a part of is mental health and, you know, again, just coming out and not being afraid to be a part of that conversation. And considering the toll that the game of baseball and like how mental it is and just this like all of the different social emotional aspects of being a part of a team and being in high stress situations, especially in a closer role like David Bednar. I think what better guys to be able to talk about it. And it's really cool to hear that guys like David and a lot of guys around the league are making this a part of their mission in a way that they can give back. This past November, David joined the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank and the Pirates community team for a Thanksgiving dinner distribution. And he did that with alumni from the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Penguins, which is pretty cool. This event ensured that more than 300 local families were able to celebrate the holiday with a proper meal during challenging economic times that continue these days. And additionally, David helped to lead a donation effort of more than 500 boxes of stuffing for Light of Life Rescue Mission, which is a Pittsburgh area homeless shelter in support of their efforts to feed the homeless a full Thanksgiving dinner. Amazing. Anyone who chooses to give back around the holidays it's obviously a great time to do that, but to dedicate your time during that time is, even more meaningful in making moments less stressful or less shameful and just less painful, right? For a lot of people in these situations. David is an active leader in Miracle League's fantasy camp, and he works with a local pediatric cancer organization called Lending Hearts for multiple events. He offers his support throughout the season. So just another worthy candidate. And if you're looking for ways to be involved in the Pittsburgh community, look no further than your closer, David Bednar. Let's finish up today with the Texas Rangers because the Rangers could not piece together to defend their championship title this season. It just didn't work. But good news for Rangers fans and for baseball fans is that Jacob deGrom made his first start. Yes, remember him? He made his first start since he had Tommy John in 2023. And hey, this guy has got the kind of stuff that is worth the price of admission alone. So if you haven't watched him pitch, and none of us have watched him pitch since prior to 2023. So no doubt that's going to be a highlight for Rangers fans and baseball fans the rest of the season. He looked really promising in his first abbreviated start. So tune in now. I don't want to say I've thrown shade at Jacob deGrom because who's going to throw shade at Jacob deGrom? Maybe me a little bit. Here's the thing. I guess this isn't really shade. I've just compared him to the really fancy car or that costs a lot to keep up because I really should know how to talk about cars better to to do this analogy. I'm pretty sure it sucked the first time I did it, but we're back. We're giving it another go. And yeah, basically it might have more horsepower and have more fancy features than other cars, but it also costs so much more to keep up. And it's if you don't use exactly the right oil and exactly the right gas and exactly the right things, you got to order these parts and you don't have to wait longer for them. You really got to take care of the maintenance. I'm calling him high maintenance, be a little bit. But again, it's because the stuff is so elite that the maintenance has to be higher. So it's like not really his fault. It's just like comes with the territory of being like elite, is what I'm saying. I got to get better at making that comparison, but you know what I'm saying, Rangers fans. Okay, Rangers fans also are hype on Wyatt Langford, who will surely get some Rookie of the Year votes. He might even win it. He has continued his solid showing despite the Rangers' struggles. Roberto Clemente nominee Marcus Semien, obviously a star on the field, but off the field since joining the Rangers. Marcus has become involved with the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation and the Texas Rangers Youth Academy. He serves as a role model for the young athletes coming from diverse backgrounds. He encourages them to work hard despite the adversity that they might face in daily life. He has also participated in the annual Thanksgiving distribution, which has donated more than 200 Thanksgiving dinners to local families surrounding the Youth Academy since 2022. He attended the Rangers Foundation MLK Day of Service in January 2023, which included a food distribution and Equip the Future program for 50 Texas Rangers Youth Academy athletes. For Jackie Robinson Day in Houston, Marcus and fellow Rangers teamed up with the Astros. Look at this. The Astros and the Rangers working together. Come on, fans. We love to see it. If they can come together, so can you. But they teamed up to mentor young athletes, this time from the Astros Youth Academy and Houston area high schools. Marcus Semien and his wife, Tara, have underwritten the Semien Family Food Distribution in 2023 and 2024. They partner with nonprofit Food for the Soul, providing more than 1,500 boxes of fresh produce and shelf-stable goods for the summer months to Academy athletes participating in baseball and softball programming to support their nutrition. This is another kind of thing that might go unseen or unnoticed, but I've even talked to some minor league baseball players who, depending on their background and their resources coming into their professional career, they have a lot less knowledge and less resources surrounding their nutrition. That's, again, if you've been here, you know that's something that I'm big on, and it's something that can make a huge difference even if you don't have type 1 diabetes like Mason Miller. It can be absolutely life-changing for, just humans living their best human life, but especially for athletes and the opportunities that they're able to get and how they're able to make the most of those opportunities. So kudos to you, Marcus Semien, for supporting nutrition of young athletes. Since December of 2020, Marcus and his father, Damian Semien, what a name, they have actively engaged with parents and student athletes by participating in monthly town hall meetings and educational modules that are hosted by the Ethos Village digital platform. They cover topics like financial literacy, entrepreneurship, social media, relationships, and mental wellness. So love that Marcus is kind of participating in the conversation. Again, some things that could be really big conversations that young, really talented people just don't have access to or resources for, that could really be making all the difference for who we're going to see on a Major League Baseball field 10, 20 years from now. Awesome. Love to hear about it. I hope you enjoyed hearing just a little bit about these Roberto Clemente nominees, as well as highlighting the bottom 8 teams in baseball. I guess I shouldn't say they're officially the bottom 8 teams because the season is not over and it could shift and undoubtedly will change a little bit. But next week, we'll do something similar with the next 7 or 8 teams that are not going to be in the playoffs. We've got the Toronto Blue Jays, the San Francisco Giants to talk about, the Cincinnati Reds, the Tampa Bay Rays, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Boston Red Sox, and the Chicago Cubs most likely going to be in our conversation as well. So if you are a fan of one of those teams and there is a thing that is keeping you watching, I can take these high level things that I take away from keeping a pulse on all of baseball. But as a fan of the team, if there is something that is keeping you tuning into those games every night as a San Francisco Giants fan right now. So hit me up and let me know, and I'd love to talk about it on our episode next week. Until then, please do not forget to like, comment, rate, review, share with a friend who loves the game or maybe just wants to get into the game, and loves vibes, loves good vibes, because that's the number one thing that we're here for on Peace, Love, and Baseball. I will catch you next week.